I received an email asking about how is the best way to dial in the EQ on an amp. And unfortunately, there's no one formula. Not only are all amps voiced differently with different capabilities, but everyone plays differently. Everyone has their different idea of what the great tone is. I mean, if you really compare the tone of, say, like Fieldy from Korn with James Jamerson, those are radically different, and one's not better than the other. But I can offer you like an exercise I go through whenever I get a new amp that might help you in dialing in and getting to know how your amp works and the natural tone, I think, of the amp. Here is my, I love this, this is my Aguilar AG500 head. What a great amp. It has a lot of capabilities to it. I'm going to deal just with, pretend that your amp just has one channel, because I actually can switch between two channels here. The first step is setting your input gain. It's going to be different on a lot of amps. Some amps have a little light sensor that if you're playing too hot, it'll flash red, and if you're not getting enough signal, it'll be really a weak yellow or a different color. On this one, they allow you to set the gain almost anywhere. It depends on what tone. A lot of times, if you set a high gain, so this is like the first chance for you to on the amp to set your level. If you set it really hot, you're probably going to get more of a dirty sound with a little more aggression to it. If you set it too weak, you may get a little noise because you're later trying to amplify a weak signal. So that's going to take experimentation. So if you don't have any kind of gauge or meter on the amp that tells you what the input sensitivity is, then just use your ear and try to get the fullest sound, the tone you like. And again, you may want grind and grit and dirt, and so you may set that higher. Then you go to your EQ. Now on this amp I have treble, mid-high, low-mid, bass, and I have these shelves. I have a deep button and I have a bright button, which just intensifies the extremes of the EQ. Whenever I get a new amp, I want to hear each control and what the range is. So what I'll do is I'll set all the EQs straight up at the 12 o'clock. That's usually where they're not boosting or cutting the signal. And I'll listen to the amp. And that's when I really mess with the gain to kind of see what the tone's like. Then once I'm happy with the gain, I will go through and start just taking one knob, and I'll take it all the way out. And I want to hear what it is with that tone completely basically cut out. If you have any buttons for bright, deep, or sometimes they're called low boost, high boost, deactivate them. You want to really hear what these potentiometers are doing here. So I would take it all the way out and listen to my amp, and then I'd dial it back to 0, hear what it is, and I'd take it all to the extreme. I would turn it all the way up. Then I would center it again, and I'd do that with each control. What I'm trying to do is just get a feel for how each knob radically would change the sound. Then I return them all back to 12 o'clock, and I just play through, and I slowly move around to what I'm looking for. I actually don't like a really, really bassy sound and a really, really bright sound. You know, a lot of players like that, what's called the funk curve, or some people call it the funk smile, where they boost the bass a lot, boost the treble a lot, and cut the mids out. Just my style, I like a little more flat with a slight raise on the bottom and a slight raise on the top. And that's how I've set my amp here. And then if you have a master volume, really that's what it implies. I mean, once you get your gain set and you have your EQ set, now you can use this to turn your volume up and down, and that's the function of that. So if you do have any buttons that boost the lows and the brights, you want to play with a combination of those. On some amps I've had, I don't like the bass boosted. I like to do it with the control. So it's up to you. It's personal preference. So get your new amp out, or the amp you have, and try this. Just zero everything out. Get as clean as tone. Oh, I might recommend this. If you have a pedal board or any external effects, take them out of the mix. Just a bass, a cable to the amp, so you know what the amp does. Then adding effects is like icing on the cake. So anyway, that's my recommendation. I know it's not specific, but you know, that's a great thing about music. There's 1,000 different tones, maybe 1,000,000 different tones, and there's 1,000,000 different players, and no one's right, no one's wrong. But you should at least take this exercise so you really know what your amp can do, and I think then you'll be able to tone shape from a more educated point of view. Hey, thanks. That was a great question, and I hope to hear more questions from you guys. So email me at dalet@danabgoods.com. Thanks.